Thank you for joining me for another quick hits conversation. I'm Dr. Robyn, aka Mental MacGyver. I provide concierge high performance support and coaching to executives, founders, celebrities, and athletes. With me today, I have Jim Tam. He is a principal client director with Korn Ferry's digital group, where he advises organizations on how to improve their sales effectiveness using world-class sales methodology and technology. I have Philip Tate. He's a communications consultant doing brand building, strategic communications, and marketing based in Charlotte, North Carolina. And I have Kevin Wash. He is a coach, mentor, author, trainer, and speaker running a consultancy business specializing in sales for international property development. He's based in Spain. The question I have today, if you had the opportunity to know but not change the future, would you want to know? Philip, what do you think?
What a fascinating question. Robyn, I'm naturally curious. I believe an unknown future can be very exciting and also very frightening. But I would also say that uncertainty can be a real driving force for personal growth and resilience. I've certainly found that out since I started my own business about 3 years ago. I think we learn from challenges and surprises, which could be stifled if we knew what was coming. So I really believe there's value in living in the present, learning to navigate the uncertainty that life throws at us every day. Embracing that journey with all its twists, turns, travails, often leads to personal growth, helps us form resilience, and I think ultimately is a richer life experience. I'm curious to hear what Kevin and Jim have to say.
Okay, I think for me, it kind of made me start looking at myself, because I was a person that was always worried about things that had happened in the past, and I was always concerned about things that were going to happen in the future. So possibly at one stage, my answer to that question may have been, yes, I'd like to know. However, in the late 2009s, I was living in South Africa, and two events there impacted the rest of my life and changed my life 1000% for the better. And one of them involved me walking down a street in Durban one day and seeing a small sign on a window saying, "Projecting this afternoon, The Power of Now" by Eckhart Tolle. So I knew who Eckhart Tolle was. I knew the name of The Power of Now, but I didn't know what it meant. So I went in and watched it. And I have to say, from that moment on, I don't live in the past. I don't live in the future. I live in the now, because the now is the time to embrace and it's the time to enjoy. So my answer now can be clearly, no, I wouldn't want to know.
Funny, when I saw that question, Robyn, I think my mind went to Back to the Future, where Biff had the results of all the World Series and all the sporting events that will take place and know the results. So automatically, it's like, how do I game this? Although I can't change the results, maybe I can benefit from it. And then I started thinking about the poor people in Maui. Had I known this was something that was to happen, although I can't change the wildfires, but could I have done something about it? If I knew somebody that was living there, would I have acted on it? Absolutely. So I think there is a benefit to knowing, although you may not be able to change the course, but you don't have to suffer the consequences. But I think if the question was based, hey, you can't do anything about it, you still want to know, I probably won't want to know.
When I think about this, I have two answers. One, if the future holds something positive, yes, I want to know. I want to look forward to it. I want to have the anticipation like you do when you plan a vacation. I want to enjoy the anticipation of something good happening. But if it's something bad, no, I don't want to know. I don't want to dread it. I don't want to have to worry about it. Knowing I can't do anything about it, I don't want to know. So is that an unfair answer? Yes, if it's good, no, if it's bad.
I would tell you from a communication standpoint, which is obviously what I do most of the time, there's emotional and rational aspects that all individuals attach to their future. Whether to know the future carries with a certain sense of urgency. Gosh, I could know. I mean, that's kind of exciting. But I think I would go back to what I said and what I think Kevin was saying too. My communication approach would be encouraging and embracing of the present. That should be your priority, because too much time dwelling in the past, too much time trying to predict the future takes your eye off the ball. What's happening right now?
I agree with Philip there. And Robyn, I would say with that mentality, maybe if you shifted your mentality and embraced the prospect of every single day being a great day, then there are no good things, there are no bad things. Because if we know there are bad things that are going to happen, I believe that we worry about things that don't happen. So why not just forget about it and deal with it when it comes? And one thing that I see today that kind of drives me crazy, And this can be a sporting event, it can be a musical event, it can be everyday life. I see people at these amazing events and all they're doing is filming it on their phones. So they're not even there living and embracing in that moment, watching whoever or whatever that artist is that's putting on the most amazing show.
Funny, when I think about the future, it can make my mind really squirrely, because when people know what's going to happen, you can't help but start taking steps. And then ultimately that can change whether that thing in the future happens or not. So it's always going to be this slippery slope that if you know the outcome and you start preparing for that outcome, then it influences the outcome. So we always got to maybe the future is not stagnant. It's as dynamic once you start knowing.
I've often thought about worrying as being building a bridge to somewhere you don't want to go, that you don't want to cross. And so I try not to worry for that exact reason, to stay in the present. And to your point, Jim, take steps that will create a future that I do want. Is that knowing the future? I don't know. It's interesting to me how many people look to palm readers and astrology because they want to know the future, but we're basically saying, no, maybe we don't want to know. What does that say?
No, so I was going to say those guys, if you take those guys that go to look to speak to clairvoyants and card readers and all this, they're looking for something. So they're desperately looking for good news. So whenever the clairvoyant says, I see a tall, dark stranger coming into your life, well, most of us will meet a tall, dark stranger at some stage. And then I can see a letter coming in the post. Oh, that's fantastic. And then they will link events in their life to make whatever the clairvoyant said fit. I'm not disparaging to those people, but I think it's a bit of a waste of time. I think if you live your life accordingly and you do the best that you can do for your own future, then I don't think you can really ask for much more than that.
I'd sum it up this way, Robyn. I'd say life is a journey, best experience when we're fully engaged in the present. By focusing on the present, cultivate deeper connections. We find meaning in those actions that we're taking every single day. And hopefully we're creating a more fulfilling and well-rounded life overall.
Wasn't that Gandhi that says, be the future you want to create or something like that? It's like we all can create our future. We don't need to know about it.
I think also if you look at Buddhism, there's another one. They say if you're living in the past, you're generally going to be a very anxious person. If you're living in the future, you're going to be a very stressed person. The best place to live is in the present. So live there and enjoy your life. There's a thing, I mentioned this before in a previous Quick Hit. There's a movie called Sixth Sense with Bruce Willis. If somebody told you the purpose of the movie at the beginning, there's no point watching the movie. If somebody said at the beginning, when did you figure out he was dead? They just wiped out the entire movie for you there. So if you don't know what tomorrow is going to bring, I wouldn't want anyone to take away my expectation. I hope tomorrow is a better day than today. And for me, today's a great day.
I think you said an important word right there, Kevin, hope. The ability to expect and be excited about things would be taken away if you knew what was coming. And maybe that's not part of the human experience.
I don't see what you gain by knowing. That's my challenge with it. Because if you know and you can do something about it, going to Jim's point, that's great. But if you know, you look at some of the tragedies and disasters we look at in the world today, if you know about it and you can't do anything about it, you can't impact it, how awful will your life be waiting for that moment to happen that you knew about all that? So that's why for me, I look at today's news today and I worry about tomorrow's tomorrow.
Makes me think about seeing a car accident happening and you see it coming and you can't stop it. That's a horrible feeling.
That's a great point though, Kevin. I never thought about that. Like if you knew the future and you can't do anything about it, you can just be miserable your whole life.
Yeah.
You just know the tragedies are happening.
How many of us think, wouldn't it be wonderful to win the lottery? I hope I'm going to win the lottery. But imagine if I knew my future and I know I'm never going to win the lottery. It's going to take that away from me. You're taking all my dreams away from me. You're blowing my candles out.
The entertainment value, right?
Yeah,
absolutely.
I'm a huge sports fan. Where's the joy? The joy is following your team, following along, kind of experiencing with them as a fan or whatever. Well, if you knew what the outcome would be, it would ultimately change what that experience would be like.
Or it removes the anxiety of worrying about it.
Yeah.
Imagine you're walking your daughter down the aisle to get married, and then you know that the guy's a serial adulterer that's going to commit homicide 5 years down the line. How happy would that day be? I don't see any upside to it, sadly. I just don't see an upside.
Well, gentlemen, that is 10 minutes, which means this quick hits is in the past. Thank you so much for having this conversation with me, and I look forward to speaking to each of you again very soon.